What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Red and Gold Standard podcast. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I am joined by my co-host Matt Llewellyn and our guy Mike Andrews of Nothing But Niners. We got a great show planned for you guys this evening. If you are tuning in on Twitter, head over to youtube.com/49ers Hive and join from there so we can see and interact with your comments. We're not ignoring you on Twitter. We just can't see them. We're going to be breaking down the 49ers Week 4 35-16 win against the Arizona Cardinals. Complete butt whooping, since we're still in the first couple of minutes here. I'll censor myself. Now we got that out of the way. Matt, how you doing this evening?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I'm babysitting a tri-tip right now, so if everybody sees me drop out, that's what I'm doing, attending to the barbecue like a real man should. But yeah, dude, talk about real men. That's what the 49ers were against the Arizona Cardinals. They showed up. They sunned the Arizona Cardinals, another team in the division, and they looked really good doing it. One man in particular, which I'm sure we're going to get to.
Yeah, man, it was really great to see. 2-0 in the division now. Wins against the Rams and the Cardinals. Mike, how you doing this evening?
Hey, man, as long as the 30s keep on rolling, I'm going to continue celebrating, man. The 49ers look really good out there on the offensive side of the ball, and I can't wait to, really dive into this and react the way that I want to. So I'm doing really well. Happy to see you guys in here too, man. And Matt, don't burn the meat.
Oh, we never burn the meat, bro. We never burn the meat. That's amateur hour.
All right, guys. Yeah, like I said, we got a great show planned for you guys. So obviously, the biggest story coming out of Sunday was Christian McCaffrey in a 4-touchdown performance. He needed 1 touchdown to match Jerry Rice's franchise record of 13 straight games with a touchdown. Well, he had it, and then he had 3 more. 3 on the ground, 1 in the air. Mike, I'm going to toss it back to you. Is this the single greatest trade ever that's happened during a season in the NFL? Am I over exaggerating?
The 49ers are doing something here, man. They said, all right, guys, we did it. We made the worst draft trade ever, but we knocked the regular season trade out the park, value for value, dollar for dollar. I think we're calling it even right now. I think everyone's forgetting about those draft woes, right? Like this team, Christian McCaffrey. I said it maybe it wasn't the first game, because the first game he was here was the Chiefs game. He didn't start that game, but he did get in there. But then right after that, man, I was like, listen, the NFL is going to regret letting Kyle Shanahan get their hands on this guy right now. And it's already paying dividends. I remember last year when I thought, oh man, his what do they call it? The Triple Crown game, right? He had the receiving touchdown, the rushing touchdown, and the passing touchdown. And I was like, man, oh man, that's got to be the ceiling. Well, I was wrong. And Kyle even said himself, if I knew that there was some record to be broken for 5 in the game, I would have gotten him 1 more. Instead, we ended up giving it to Juice and Brock. So, yeah. It's a really good trade, man.
Liar says we traded for Steve Young. So no, great point. Great point. And I always forget that Steve Young was a trade, but at the time he was just kind of a castaway, dare I say. Jim Everett says, I remember Tony was like, no, when you guys got CMC.
Wow. Good call back there. Jim Everett's not even a Niners fan, right? Like this guy, Tony, when we were live on air when the trade was, he's like, no, are you kidding me? What was the compensation? It wasn't about the player. At least I don't think it was. I have to go back and listen now. Maybe Jim Everett remembers better than I do. I think it was more about the compensation and the salary cap and, what that meant for the future of the team, the money of the team. So, but either way, we were wrong. Either way, we were wrong.
Yep. And it's funny going back to ESPN, that's going around now. They graded that trade a C- for the 49ers. They said terrible. They gave up too much to get Christian McCaffrey. So laughable. Matt, I'm going to throw another theory at you. Kyle Shanahan is apologetic for not drafting Christian McCaffrey when he first got here. So now he's doing everything he can to get him MVP this year. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know that that's it. I think it's hard, to pass up what Kyle Shanahan, decided to draft. And I'm pretty sure was that the Solomon Thomas draft? Yeah, I mean, listen, again, I always talk about it. Dude didn't even get to the NFL, to the 49ers, as a head coach until 2 weeks before the combine. Super hard to predict what Christian McCaffrey was going to be. Super hard to predict what any of these guys were going to be. And if you had to choose between somebody who maybe slotted as a pass rusher versus a running back in 2017, you might look at that a little bit differently. I will say, though, that Christian McCaffrey is fantastic. And the whole C- trade grade and stuff like that, as I've always said, when people are like, Christian McCaffrey, he's injury prone, he's this, he's that. I'm like, none of these injuries have required surgical intervention. So all it takes is a little bit of tweaking here and there. Same thing I say about Deebo Samuel, right? It's just a little tweak to the conditioning, the strength and conditioning, maybe some extra flexibility, some work there, and you can cut out some of those injuries, right? Some of them just bad luck, like he had a high ankle sprain that kept him out. Those things happen in the NFL. The one thing that I always say about Christian McCaffrey is he doesn't look like he ever takes a direct shot. He never looks like he gets hit with full force. And I think that bodes well for him going forward. And the fact of the matter is, between his ability to be a runner between the tackles, which some of us didn't, know that he had to that extent. I mean, dude's a tough runner, right? And then he has the receiving ability as well. He's not going to be the straight up Tyreek Hill breakaway speed, super speed guy, but he's got plenty of speed to get out into the open, especially he's got blockers in front of him. He's the total deal, man. And this is the guy that I was talking about. We'll get to Brock later because Brock had a fantastic performance too. But I would be remiss if the guy that I was just like one man in particular in this game just took it over. It's got to be the man that had 4 touchdowns. I mean, come on. The 4 touchdown games don't happen every day of the week, straight up.
Yeah.
We'll get to BA too because BA had a great game. But if you're looking at it and you told me who had the best game, it's got to be Christian McCaffrey. 4 touchdowns is no joke, man. No joke at all.
Yeah. It's really, really crazy to see. Going over his stats here. So he had 20 carries for 106 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. Longest rush of the day was 18 yards. And then I didn't even realize how many yards he got receiving. He had 7 receptions for another 71 yards and another receiving touchdown. So just an all-out day for Christian McCaffrey. I mean, Mike, what's a trip? I was listening to one of the post-game shows, whether it was NBC or the one on TV with Mayoka, I forget which one, but they're talking about how the last time 5 touchdowns or 4, I guess, plus were scored on Levi's field, Christian McCaffrey was there, but on the other team, and it was Tevin Coleman when the 49ers played the Panthers in 2019. Coincidentally, I was at that game too. Maybe I just need to go to more games. What did you think of Christian McCaffrey's day? And we got some people in the chat already saying they're going to run him into the ground. Do you think they're using him too much? I know you pushed back on me when I said this in the pregame show. What are your thoughts on it?
No, man. I think this is great for the 49ers. I don't think they're using him too much. You can blame that on roster politics or salary politics. He is the highest paid running back in the NFL. When I saw Christian McCaffrey get winded or tired, he was on the sideline. That means they're not using him too much. If he couldn't handle the workload, he would not be in there. I think that his usage here, I would love to go back and look at his total touches in a healthy year over in Carolina versus what he's on pace for right now. I'm sure that's something that's easy, calculable. I hope I use that word right. But maybe I'll pull it up in a little bit here. But, I don't think that we're overusing him. I think that he's taking less punishment here. In Carolina, you had 2 people willing to smack him immediately because he was the primary guy. Over here, it doesn't really work the same way. Teams are, he's still taking his hits because he's the ball carrier, he's getting his touches, but it's not equating to the same points of contact and how strong the contact is coming at him. Like Matt said, he has a way of taking these hits and these blows and making sure that he's kind of like cushioning the blow, so to speak. So I don't think that we're using him too much at all. And you talked about the touchdowns in that game. I remember that game, the Tevin Coleman game. In fact, my cousin that's a Panthers fan, we were at Nuno's it's a bar up in North Jersey, and the owner of the bar is a Niners fan. He gives out shots every time someone scores a touchdown for the Niners. Needless to say, he was giving out a lot of alcohol that night, but he was a good sport. He took a picture with my cousin and everything. It was a really, really good time.
That's crazy. Yeah. That was a 50 burger on Carolina coming into that game. Yep. 51, which they were looking good at the time. Kyle Allen was looking good. Joe McCoy was coming in saying they wanted to smoke. It was not a good day for them.
Mm-hmm.
No.
All right, let's get into.
By the way,
Yeah.
are we potentially looking at, if Christian McCaffrey could keep this up, are we potentially looking at the first non-QB MVP since Adrian Peterson in 2012? Something to keep an eye on, guys. Although I will say in 2019 when he played for Carolina and had 1,000, he didn't win MVP, so who knows?
What's crazy is I saw a tweet, and I think it was from Fox Sports NFL. Like multiple sports books don't even have him in the top 5 in odds for MVP, which is just wild to me. Because he arguably is the best player. He'll probably win Offensive Player of the Year if he keeps this pace up. Like, I think he's the favorite right now to do that. But I can't believe that he's not even like a top 4 favorite for MVP. Like, I don't know. It makes no sense. But I guess they're just saying, what's crazy? Brock Purdy has higher odds, according to most of these sports books, than Christian McCaffrey does.
I thought, I could be wrong. I thought a wide receiver won. No, I can't hear
Perry, you son of a bitch.
What happened?
The comment, Perry, you fuck.
Oh shit. Okay. All right. No, I don't know. I don't know. But I'll tell you, it's really hard for running backs to get it. We've seen 2,000-yard seasons from running backs. We've seen it happen a couple of times, and I don't know. It's just a quarterback award, man. And it shouldn't be, but that's really what it is. It's a quarterback award, unfortunately.
Yeah. So here are the odds per Fox NFL. Josh Allen's currently the favorite at plus 350. Tua is second at plus 500. Tied for second, Patrick Mahomes plus 500. Fourth, Jalen Hurts plus 800. Fifth, Lamar Jackson plus 1,200. Sixth, and tied for sixth, believe it or not, Justin Herbert and Brock Purdy at plus 1,600. That's crazy to me. But let's segue in. That's a nice segue to Brock Purdy's day, because he had a hell of a day, a very efficient day. He finished, that's right, Mike. He finished 20 of 21, 283 yards, 1 touchdown through the air. Should have been 2, but the pass ended up sailing behind the line of scrimmage, so it counted as a run. I'll take it. Matt, what were your thoughts on Brock Purdy's day?
Super efficient, and he made some throws that'll prove a lot of the doubters wrong. I see some of the people that would traditionally downplay what Purdy has done. They're having a hard time doing it now. The one critique I heard that was easily laughable was on the big shot to Brandon Ayuk, the 42-yarder. Oh, that was underthrown.
Yeah. Like,
what are you talking about? The 2 defenders were over the top of him. If he throws it any further, then it potentially is going to get picked off. The safety didn't even have eyes on, and Ayuk had inside leverage on the cornerback that followed him across the field. That was a picture-perfect throw. It was exactly where he needed to. Other people are like, oh, he didn't put it on the money on the second throw because Brandon Ayuk had to reach up and snag it. And I'm like, it's in his catch radius. Like, that's all you need. That's where you need to put the ball. So 20 to 21, I mean, new 49ers record for completion percentage in a game. He was lights out, man. He was lights out. He looked very comfortable all day long, and it showed. The one thing that impresses me the most is something that I've kind of picked up on, and it's kind of ridiculous. PFF counted it as a turnover-worthy play, even though there was a flag on the play. It was when Ayuk was in the end zone getting held and Purdy threw the ball his way. To me, Brock Purdy sees those penalties and will throw the ball to try to draw the eyes of the officials.
Yeah.
He sees it, and he wants to get attention there. So he will throw the ball. To me, that's next level mental processing on the field. And that's something that you can't really determine when you're going through the draft process. And I think that that's part of the reason why the draft process is such a crapshoot at times. Physical talent is obviously going to be the main driver of people's perceptions of a prospect. You know, they get excited, they get enticed by all these things. It's partially why the 49ers drafted someone like Trey Lance to come in, because of all the physical tools. That being said, there's a mental aspect to it. You know, I always remember that quote from Little Giants, right? The old 90s movie about football. And John Madden's like, football is 90% mental and 40% physical. All right. But I mean, it's a fun throwaway joke, but it still stands that being able to process the field, being able to go through your reads, being able to read a defense, these are the things that the great quarterbacks do. And when you have the physical talent on top of that, it adds to it. But somebody like a Tom Brady wasn't physically overwhelming. A Joe Montana wasn't physically overwhelming. What they were good at is reading the field. I'm not comparing Brock Purdy to these. I'm just using those as an example of quarterbacks who are not necessarily the who's who of physical freaks in the football world that have used their ability to mentally process what's going on to become better players. And I think that Brock Purdy is well on his way to doing that because he sees the field very well. We don't see the throws that we saw with Jimmy where it's like, dude didn't even see the linebacker lurking underneath and he still threw it there, right? Brock tends to put the ball in a place where it's going to be the most safe. Even against the Giants where he had that rough opening drive when they had the set plays, right? Those are set plays from Kyle Shanahan. That's why the first drive and a half or so looked really rough. Once they got off of that and they determined that they were going to do quick hitters, Brock Purdy put the ball where it was supposed to go. So he's done a very good job. This game, I thought, was his best overall, most confident showing as a 49ers quarterback, and it was amazing to watch.
I was surprised watching the quarterback schools episode on Brock Purdy. JT O'Sullivan also said that pass to Ayuk with two defenders behind him was underthrown. And somebody even said in the comments, JT, I don't think that was underthrown. I think he placed it exactly where only Ayuk could put it. And he goes, he replied in the comments, he goes, I think that was underthrown. He got lucky that the defender didn't see it because that's 6 the other way if he does, which I'm thinking, first of all, how is it intercepted? 1, 2, 6 the other way.
Who said that?
JT O'Sullivan in the comments of today's QB score on Brock Purdy. So not only did he say it was underthrown, he said he was also lucky that the defender just didn't see it. I thought that ball was perfectly placed. Only Ayuk could have grabbed it. It was either a completion or an incomplete. Like there was no other way where that was going to get intercepted, tipped.
And that's a staple play in the Shanahan offense. We've seen that for years.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
I just want to say that I am happy we finally have a quarterback that gives the receivers that we think are stars or studs a chance to go up and get it. I'm so tired of only being able to throw to the wide open guy all the time. Let's take some shots. Let me tell you why this game, Brock Purdy moved up a couple of notches for me. It was because of the play calling. Forget the outcome of the play, right? Now teams have to respect the ball down the field. The 49ers have not been much of a vertical threat for a long time. A couple of shots here or there. Less than half of them worked, obviously. That's just the odds of those kind of passes, right? But we were a lot lower in the rankings over the course of the last couple of years, right? Now, all of a sudden, it's like teams have to plan for all of that. And what a better time to do it than we're probably about to play against the best defense we played against so far. So now they've got to cover vertically and they have to cover horizontally because that's the Niners game plan. So this was perfect. And that's why I liked it. He wasn't afraid to go out there and just chuck up a couple of them, regardless of the outcome of them. And then the fact that he completed all 4 of them, I mean, that's even better. That's even better, man.
Especially
so
when
shout out to Brock Purdy, man. It was really good
somebody as on fire as Brandon Ayuk has been this season. It's like he's got magnets in his gloves. Like the ball is just sticking to him. I don't think he's dropped a pass yet this year, and I'm knocking on wood because everything that's come his way that's catchable, he's caught. It's just really, really impressive. There was one throw that I will critique Brock on. It was late in the game, 3rd and 9. I want to say 3rd and 6. It was the back shoulder throw where he threw it a little low between Ayuk and the sideline on the left side of the field. That one was a little more difficult than it needed to be, but I was still really impressed that Brock hit it because I haven't seen a 49ers quarterback make that throw. I mean, I don't know how long, maybe ever. So, it was a really impressive day from Brock. Some of the throws he was making, just like Mike said, we don't see that. If they're not wide open, we don't see it. So I was impressed.
And here's this. According to NFL Next Gen stats, Purdy had a completion percentage over expectation of 28%, the highest mark by a quarterback with at least 20% in a game over the past 7 seasons. His previous career high for a game was 5.1% over expectation. He balled out today, and I don't care what anybody says. JT O'Sullivan, I respect the hell out of him. I'm looking forward to watch that QB school video. But the fact of the matter is, if he's trying to tear that apart, like, That's nitpicking to me. That's definitely nitpicking to me if you want to do that. You just watch it. The safety had his back turned. He was thinking that Ayuk was going to go deep. So I don't know, man. Like at that point, it isn't just kind of, I got to say something bad about somebody. So let me pick this one thing, you know?
That's what it seems like. I pulled up this chart from Computer Cowboy on X, Ben Baldwin. Look at Purdy up here. X-axis is offensive grade from PFF. Y-axis, EPA per play, passes, rushes, and penalties. He's in a world of his own. Like, it's just unreal stuff.
And that PFF grade would be higher if they didn't count turnover worthy plays on a play where you draw a flag, which is like, how does that work?
That's what I was going to ask. Like, how the hell was Matt Stafford rated higher than him? Russell Wilson? Like, I just don't understand how he got a higher rate. Like, never mind. It's whatever.
To be fair, I don't know if this is just from Sunday or if this is on the season.
You know what though? What I need, it's probably on the season. I know it's on the season because if you look in the corner, it says minimum 48 plays. So Jimmy Garoppolo in there along with Aiden O'Connell. So it's definitely for the season. And I know some of the Giants throws are going to be in there, but dude, PFF to me, it's like we need an insider to let us know what the algorithm is, right? It's like nobody knew what the 11 herbs and spices were at KFC before a worker came out and was like, let me tell you exactly what it is. And we need to kind of figure that out. Until then, they just make adjustments every single season where it's like they'll come out and say, oh, we readjusted our analysis to, better serve this or whatever. And you're just changing it year to year with nobody knowing what it is.
Yeah.
So to me, I have a hard time. If you can't explain how you get to your process from A to B to C, I don't know that I trust that process. And that's just like saying, when somebody says something and it's like source, trustmebro.com. You know what I mean? Like, It just doesn't work that way.
It's like being in algebra and turning in your paper when it's not all filled with equation and all your work and you don't show your work. Like you get dinged points in school if you don't show your work. Sure. And we just have to trust these fools that
happened to me all the time.
They're doing what they're doing.
It too. I was gonna say I was terrible at showing work. When I had to draw, like certain things just stand out to you, algebra in particular. I could just see it and I would write down the answers, right? And it wasn't when I would show the work of what I saw in my head, I missed like 4 steps that the teacher would want, and I would get like half credit on an answer that I got right. So it was like I'm like, Mom, you got to fight for me for this, because I can't do it the way that they want me to do it. Yeah. They want you to like carry this over there and then divide by that and all that, and I didn't do all of that. Like that's not the steps that I followed.
I pulled up this tweet also from Ben Baldwin. He tweeted, checking in on all-time offensive series conversion rates, and many people are saying the 49ers have a better offense than the 2007 Patriots since 1999, comparing 4 weeks to a whole season as well. So take that with a grain of salt, because the rest of them are for an entire season. The 49ers are just through 4 weeks. But the shit we've seen from this team this year has been extremely impressive. They ranked number 1 since 1999. Series conversion rate at 82.2. The 2007 Patriots, one of the best offenses of all time. Tom Brady, Randy Moss, 81.4.
And that's and that's just like they're saying like series conversion rate means they scored on X number of drives, touchdown or field goal.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Trying to get a feel for what's going on. Yeah, I mean we're getting to the point now where people are going to nitpick the offense. Nitpick Brock Purdy and try to find ways to tear it apart. To me, I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I thought the offense was actually more impressive than the defense this weekend. And that's saying something given what the 49ers defense has been over the last few years.
Yeah. I have a lot of knocks on the defense from this game. So this is when I'm going to get a little negative, but I am 100% with you, Matt. Shanahan's offense is finally carrying the team like it's supposed to.
But before we get into the defense, let's talk about Ayuk, because we didn't get a chance to get into it more. And I'll save this chart. You can see where the defense is. Defense is Y-axis here, and it's not that high up there on the chart. So, but for now, let's save that. All right, so defense. 49ers only let up 16 points, but at one point it did get to a 5-point game. Could have been a 3-point game, but they were able to stop the 2-point conversion. Josh Jobs looked, solid out there. He was 28 for 41, 265 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Sacked once. Had a rating of 102.2, QBR of 80.8. The leading receiver, Marquise Brown, 7 receptions for 96 yards. Michael Wilson, the rookie, 7 receptions for 76 yards and 2 touchdowns. I don't know. What did you guys think? Because I guess I know what you think. Both of you guys were just saying you weren't that impressed. God damn it. I'm sorry. We said Ayuk. I'm over here bringing up all the defense. We said Ayuk. Let's get into Ayuk. I'm sorry. Brandon Ayuk.
Can't shade Ayuk, man.
6 receptions for 148 yards, a career day. And the long on the day was 42. 6 receptions on 6 targets, let me add. Did not drop a ball, like I said earlier. Mike, I know that's your boy, so I'm going to go. What are your thoughts on Brandon Ayuk's day?
That's 2 healthy games for Brandon Ayuk, 2 perfect games for Brandon Ayuk. Just keep feeding him, man. That guy is showing that he is a wide receiver 1 in the NFL, not wide receiver 1 in the NFL. He is a wide receiver 1 on the team. He is out there running routes like crazy, catching contested catches. He is doing whatever it is that he wants to do, regardless of how many players you got on him. And we just got to keep feeding him, man. This kid has been working hard. He knows it's a contract year as well. So he's going out there and he is showing like who he is supposed to be. There was no mistake about his mindset coming into this season. He tweeted it out at the end of last season. Fourth option on this team and still over 1,000 yards. And then he puts the rocket signs, the rocket emojis. He's taken off and he meant it. And damn it, he's living up to the hype. He put the pressure on himself with that tweet, and he has not disappointed so far.
It was really, really impressive. He's always open. He's always open, man. And he's always catching the ball. I mean, Matt, can the 49ers afford not to keep him?
No, they can't afford not to keep him. I think he's earned what he's going to get, and much more so. Again, we've talked about Deebo Samuel in the past, and Deebo Samuel played in this game, and it looked like at times, right? Like I felt like I saw Deebo Samuel a fair bit on the field. Deebo Samuel had 3 carries for 6 yards and had no receptions on the day, and on a day where Deebo Samuel was more used as like a decoy, like I thought he was going to be used, Brandon Ayuk stepped up and really led the charge. Christian McCaffrey was the second leading receiver, but Brandon Ayuk just seems to I just watch from the all 22, just watch Brandon Ayuk run his routes. His routes are so crisp. Like if you leave your bread in the toaster for far too long, I'm talking like burnt toast crisp. That dude is burn the meat crisp. You know what I'm saying? Like he's so good at running routes. And like you said, Zach, it doesn't seem like he, knock on wood, drops passes, right? Like the one drop that I can think of was that like Purdy dot from last year, right? In the end zone where he had to like try to keep his feet in bounds. Like that's really the only thing that I can think of, but he's very consistent. Those deep balls, I like to use the word pluck. He plucked those passes out of the air, right? It's like, I don't know, man. Watching Brandon Ayuk is so fun. It's just so fun. And like every day I look at NFLshop.com and I'm like, man, do I do it? Do I do it? I don't want to jinx a young man, but do I do it? I'm about to. I'm about to, because Brandon Ayuk is special. And he's showing that he belongs with, the discussion of being in the top 10, top 5 of NFL wide receivers just based on ability. Like Mike said, 2 healthy games, 2 perfect games, right? 8 receptions, 6 receptions, both over 100 yards. When he's healthy, the 49ers offense against the Giants, the one game that they criticized Purdy for that first drive and a half. How is that different if Brandon Ayuk is there? I bet you Brandon Ayuk gets off of those presses and gets open, and Purdy has a little bit easier time. I'm just, Brandon Ayuk to me is super impressive, man. Like one of my favorite players on the team for sure. One of my favorite 49er wide receivers since Jerry Rice for sure.
And what's wild? This stat I remember like when Kendrick Bourne was here, but Brandon Ayuk has 17 receptions on the year. All of them are either a first down or a touchdown. Like I think he's averaging like 14 yards of reception, 18 yards of reception, something
18.
crazy.
It's
18.
18.
Thank you. It's wild, the stats that he's able to put up, the performance
By the way, excuse me, I need to adjust, because if we're Mike knows if we're rounding, right, we got to round up after 0.5. Right. 18.8 yards per reception. That's 19 yards per. By the way, with a long of that 42-yarder was his longest of the season. So this is a consistent like 18 yards per clip. This is not like feast or famine with Brandon Ayuk. He's just really good. Sorry to interrupt, Zach. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Yeah, it's so impressive what he's able to do. And I forget who tweeted it out. It could have been Matt Harmon on Twitter. He's been like championing Ayuk since he got drafted. And he was like, basically, Brandon Ayuk has been the ball test. Like, if you're talking to someone, you really want to know if they know ball up until this year. It's like, how good is Brandon Ayuk? And if somebody's like, who? They don't know ball. But now he's kind of getting into the mainstream, wide receiver tier to where everybody knows how good he is because he's that good. And I agree with you, Matt. I don't think the 49ers can afford not to keep him. And I think that's why they hopefully shifted around all this money to open up all this cap space. Mike, I'm going to throw it back to you. Was this just the natural progression? Do you think that he was always going to be this good and maybe it took a little longer because of whatever issues he had in the doghouse rookie year? Or do you think maybe he's a little extra motivated because it is a contract year? And unfortunately, I hate to say it, are we going to see a regression after he gets a contract? What do you think the type of, I guess, how do you project this going out?
Yeah, no, I think it's just a matter of he's getting a little bit more targets now. Brandon Ayuk, he's been the guy that was getting open on plays, but the plays weren't even designed for him. You know what I mean? Like he's getting open, but it was always meant to be a pass to Debo or a pass to Kittle, but he was still the guy open downfield. And the Niners were a little hesitant to throw the ball downfield, given the constant rotation of the quarterbacks. Now they got some confidence, and they can actually take advantage of what Ayuk is doing back there. Listen, he is a combination of Brandon Lloyd's route running and Michael Crabtree's hands. Like you talk about plucking the ball out the air, Matt. That's immediately who I thought about was Michael Crabtree, right? But he didn't have the speed or the elusiveness that Brandon Ayuk has. And Brandon Lloyd, I don't know if you guys remember how good of a route runner he was. And I'm not talking about the contorting of the body. That Brandon Lloyd was something just different. He was like a unicorn when it came to that stuff. But the route running ability of Lloyd, the hands of Michael Crabtree, he was really, really good. And Matt, you said you saw Debo out there quite a bit. Debo actually took more offensive snaps than Brandon Ayuk did. So he was out there a lot, but it just wasn't his game plan, and I like that. I like that, they put him out there to make teams respect what, just in case you guys thought that he was too injured to play or whatever, we're gonna put him out on the field, and teams have to respect any time he's out on the field. So I like the way that the Niners used him. It probably made things easier for Brandon Ayuk. It made things easier for Brock Purdy as well. This team is playing a really, really good brand of complementary football, and Ayuk is taking complete advantage of it. You got to respect all the weapons on the field at the same exact time.
Yeah. I agree with Kurt Sampson. Purdy is a better quarterback for Ayuk. They have this chemistry gelling right now. We saw Debo go off on Thursday night. I think he had 6 catches for 120 something yards. But it just seems like it's so natural with Ayuk. We saw it week 1 in Pittsburgh. Week 2 was at the Rams where he got hurt like almost instantly on the first throw, first reception. And then week 3 he missed. But it's just so easy. And I love it because if this is something that can continue down the stretch, I'm all here for it. I'm definitely all here for it. By the way, we were doing the math yesterday, talking to the group chat. Christian McCaffrey, side note, is on pace for like 1,950 receiving yards and like 29 touchdowns or some crazy number like that. I know that won't continue, but if we do the whole on pace thing, which by the way, on pace, Purdy would be the first 4,000-yard passer we've had since Jeff Garcia. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about for this offense before we transition over to the defense? Nope. Okay.
I do want to talk about the offensive line really quick.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, go ahead, Mike. I think that's.
I was just going to say, the offensive line. I think I understand why the Niners didn't invest heavily in the tackle position in particular. Um, as long as we aren't behind on the sticks, this offense is unstoppable. It's completely unstoppable. The one drive also happened to be the one with the only incompletion of the game is when they kind of like they I'm gonna keep saying it until I feel otherwise. They forced the ball into Debo's hands. They went an entire half. Debo didn't get a single target, a touch, or anything like that. And then on the opening drive of the second half, they give the ball to Debo. It's a 2-yard loss. Now we have to come out in passing. It gave the opposing defense an opportunity to pin their ears back. Boom! Right away, Brock Purdy gets sacked, and now it's third and forever. And that's the only incomplete pass of the entire game. We just have to stay. We have to stay positive. We can't get down behind and down in distance. Otherwise, it kind of changes things up. Otherwise we can stick to the script, and as long as we are operating within that script, everything is fine. I mean, it's better than fine. Everything is great. So the Niners continue to do that. We haven't been behind a lot not score, but on the sticks, and down in distance. We haven't been behind a lot all season long, and that's why we're putting up 30 plus points a game. And it's going to continue to play that way out, I think.
Yeah, well, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't that bad of a performance. And look, we said after week 1, everybody was panicking. Get Colton McKivitz out of here. We need somebody else. Colton McKivitz. Not every team has a TJ Watt. Yes, I'm fully aware that once you get into the playoffs, most teams do have somebody of that caliber, or at least close. But then you can develop a plan for that. I'm not too concerned in the regular season because not every week you're going to face that. And
we'll see if they've developed a plan with that with Micah Parsons coming up, right?
Exactly. We'll see. He was a little banged up. He returned to the game though on Sunday, right? He had the ankle sprain. He left for a bit, came back. Okay. Yeah. All right, let's get into the defense. I started talking about them earlier before I corrected myself, but gave up 16 points. Joshua Dobbs looked very, very competent out there. He looked comfortable. He didn't look rattled. He looked like he was in control of the Cardinals offense. Did that surprise you guys at all? Were you expecting him to look a little more rattled, a little more uncomfortable, or did you get about what you expected on Sunday from the defense?
So I thought the defense, it was a little bit of a disappointment. As much as I want to say that this is an elite defense and all that, I'm sorry. Elite defenses aren't giving up 99.5-yard drives. They're not. I'm sorry. There was no pressure on their first down from the half-yard line. No pressure at all. The team was rallying for this 5 defensive lineman formation. That was the perfect time to deploy it. They didn't even think about it. On second down, I don't even think Bosa was out there, and if he was, he didn't do anything. Right? It's like, how do you have them in the shadow of their end zones and you don't dial up a blitz or anything? Like, put some extra pressure on them. I get it. You're thinking, oh, it's halftime. We just got to hold them to a 3 and out or whatever. Like, no, absolutely not. And most teams, 99% of teams in the NFL, if you were starting on the 1-yard line, they run the ball because they just have to get off of that goal line. That was the perfect time for the 5 down linemen. It was the perfect time for it. Minimalize the gain they get, and instead they ended up getting like 4 or 5 yards on that first carry, and then they just opened things up for them, man. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. But it wasn't just that. Maybe it's like the curse of the backup Cardinals quarterback, right? Because we remember what Colt McCoy did to us before. Also, I felt like that offense isn't as good as what we made them look, even though it was only 16 points. Again, I am not saying this based off of results. I am saying this off of what I saw. The inconsistencies in the secondary, the inconsistency at pass rush. Everyone's going to talk about, oh, well, we got pressures. Yeah, okay, that's cool. But this kid wasn't rattled by the pressure. Dobbs did not seem to be affected by the pressure like that. And so where do the plays come from? Where do the plays come from? How many turnovers did the 49ers have in this game? Yeah, goose egg, nothing, right? Like, I'm sorry. If your team is putting up this many points and that's without turnovers, imagine if we were getting the assistance like the Cowboys offense is getting from their defense, right? And I'm not saying we have to score twice every game. I think the Cowboys have like 4 touchdowns on the season defensively or something like that, right? The Niners don't have any. But like, get us some turnovers, guys. Like, get like they have to do more this defense is definitely taking a step back from the last 3 seasons. But taking a step back still doesn't knock them outside of the top 10. They were number 1 and number 2 all
Yeah.
along. So I get it. We didn't expect it to stay the same, but I didn't expect the drop off to be this significant. And it's going to be something that when we start playing against some elite quarterbacks could really come back to bite us. So I'm hoping that this defense wakes up and kicks it up a gear.
Yeah. It surprised me to learn that in terms of total offense, that the Cardinals are 12th in the NFL so far. That's pretty good. And I also think that is a testament to how good the 49ers defense has been, that they are 5th in terms of defense, total defense in terms of yards, and 3rd in terms of scoring defense so far in the NFL. And that it seems like it's not good enough. I will say the one thing that I think that teams are kind of warming up to is the idea that it's much better to get the ball out quick and work on the perimeter against some of these corners than it is to try to stay back there and get chunk plays and let the pass rush potentially get to you. To me, as much as I love my Michigan guys, Ambry Thomas is a liability. Every time he was in that game, they picked on him, and he gave up a lot of yards. And that drive in the first half, before the end of the half, where they were able to score and close the gap, 2 big plays given up by Ambry Thomas. Was it 1? I saw him give up 2 big completions.
I'm not blaming that touchdown on him. If you're crediting the touchdown to Ambry Thomas, I'm not blaming that on him.
He took the under. What are you doing taking the under? You take the over.
Right.
Right.
But see what happens is
that was on scheme wise. That was on Ambry Thomas. He sunk down.
Bad decision.
We got a disagreement on that.
There were 2 guys to defend. There was a deep guy and the shallow guy, right? And so he takes the shallow, thinking that the safety there was
another defender.
Greenlaw was there.
Shallow.
Greenlaw was in the shallow.
Right. Greenlaw was defending, and Ambry Thomas sunk down.
He allowed Michael Wilson to get right behind him to cover up the lower receiver when Greenlaw. He was closer to Greenlaw than he was to Michael Wilson behind him.
I just feel like the safety should have been there. Like that's the safety's job. And so what happens is we see him trailing and running, trying to make a last-second play on the ball, and then we credit him for the touchdown given up because it's a wide receiver making a reception, right? So we say, oh, it's a wide receiver. It must have been the cornerback's fault. This is the same thing that we saw happen with Akello Witherspoon time and time again. We saw it happen with, and it's not
personal. This is personal.
I got to do it. I got to do it, right?
You got to name a player that doesn't suck, though.
Brian Allen. This happened to Brian Allen.
All,
the injustices of Brian
top 5
Allen
this year. He's top 5 this year. So let's
in
be
splinters
clear.
In his ass.
It only took him a decade.
What are you talking about?
No, what I will say is I will reserve concrete judgment until I see the all 22.
I saw Croc break it down. That's enough for me. And Croc said, in this type of play, you have to take the over. You cannot take the under because that's what the offense wants you to do. As soon as you take the under, they're going to hammer that in. My biggest problem with Ambry, not to cut you off, Matt, but situational awareness. There's like 20 seconds left before half. They're trying to make it a 1-score game or a 2-score game. Maybe I forget what the score was going into that drive. What do you think they want to do, Ambry? Do you think they want the 7-yard out route? Or do you think they're going to try and take a shot to the end zone before halftime and get a touchdown? Clearly, they're going to try and take a shot. They had already taken a shot on you. So he can be a talented corner, but he lacks all situational awareness.
In Ambry's defense, I will say that the 49ers run a very zone-heavy scheme, and he's not a good zone corner. He's like a press man guy. And I will say that, this coverage is like an if-then, right? If there is underneath coverage and the linebacker carries the zone, then you carry the receiver that crosses your zone to pass off to the safety down the field, right? That could be something. I don't know 100%. I will say that if Croc is saying that he should have taken the deep, I'm going to defer to Croc, who actually played the position and actually had a cup of tea in the NFL, as opposed to me, who didn't do shit after high school. I'm going to go with that one. I want to see the all 22. I just think that, Zach, you're right. It is kind of one of those things where it's like, what do you think they're going to do, man? We're getting towards the end of the half. They got to get chunk plays. At this point, it's like they spent a 3rd-round pick on Ambry Thomas, and no matter what the situation was, I see him getting picked on. And to me, that's not a good sign for a 3rd-round pick. It's not a good sign for a guy who wants to carry this forward. And as much as we say maybe the offensive line isn't going to be a problem, like, we're not spending a lot of money at tackles, I do think that some of the defense's lack of being able to get off the field sometimes is due to the fact that they didn't put a lot of money into the cornerback position this offseason either. They didn't use money or resources draft-wise. And, they drafted a safety, Jair Brown. Did you guys know he was still on the team? Because I haven't seen him at all this season. And to me, that's another wasted 3rd-round pick. There were no 3rd-round corners that might benefit this team more than a Jair Brown would, at this point in time. You have Deshaun Gibson and Talanoa Hufanga, who are obviously going to hold it down. I've seen George Odom. He's the only guy that I haven't seen so far, and we have needs at that area. Isaiah Oliver didn't impress me a lot either. He had some good plays, made some good tackles, but also gave up receptions. When you're faced with a defensive line that has Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave, and a surging Drake Jackson who's making a lot of plays, versus a corner, situation that's Diamador Lenore and Charvarius Ward, and that's essentially it. Which one do you think you're going to attack? It's why teams go to the outside, why they go to the outside short, right? And then work short, wait for a situation where you take a shot. And that's kind of what happened. I'm not saying the defense is bad. It's not bad, but there definitely are more flaws in this defense than there were last year. And I think that against the better teams, that could come back to bite them.
I don't know if this is something that Wilks is coaching them or telling them to do, though. Why are we not messing up their timing? Like, they're allowing them clean releases off the snap, and it just works so perfectly for the opposing offense, the opposing receiver. We're seeing Michael Wilson, we're seeing Hollywood Brown. These guys are running their routes unimpeded. I would love to see, Mooney get up there, jam him at the line, cause that disruption in the timing. They almost always get clean releases. So I don't know if this is something that Wilks, who was supposed to be, and I'm not saying supposed to be kind of like a shot at him, but when I learned about him, I was told he's like a secondary guru, like that's his specialty. That was supposed to come in and really improve the 49ers secondary. I haven't quite seen it. I'm not questioning his methods yet, because it's still very early on, and everything's been positive besides some things that we can nitpick here. 49ers haven't given up a ton of points, maybe minus the Rams game with 23, which still isn't even that bad. But I don't know. That's something I noticed.
I wonder if it's hard to run press man on the outside if you want both of your linebackers to be in zone coverage, which I feel like having Warner and Greenlaw in zone coverage is going to be more of a benefit because of their sideline to sideline speed to kind of cover some of the tight ends and stuff underneath. I don't know for sure, but I think it's kind of hard. Like, safeties can be in zone no matter what. Like, they can run man or safety or zone, excuse me. You can run 2 deep, 1 deep, man coverage, whatever. I think it's harder when you have to include the linebackers. But also, I don't think that benefits the 49ers overall. Like, do I trust Mooney Ward to be a lockdown, like, man coverage guy? No. Do I trust Lenore? No. Do I trust Ambry Thomas? No. So you're kind of playing to the strengths of having – it's strength in numbers, right? The more that you can squeeze people into certain areas and try to do it that way, the better you're probably off. But that in itself leads to there are going to be openings, there are going to be opportunities for an offense to take advantage of. And by virtue of playing off the ball, you can do a lot of things to negate the 49ers pass rush, unfortunately. It's something that Wilks is going to have to do. And by the way, can I ask you, gentlemen, am I the only one that's kind of off-put by the fact that he calls plays from the booth? I kind of missed the defensive coordinator being down on the sidelines.
I'm still kind of on the fence. I think it's still kind of cool, like man in the sky type thing. But at the same time, I do miss the energy. What do you think, Mike?
No, I don't think he's like a rah-rah guy. So I think he wants to be in the booth to see how quickly the guys are closing and how quickly they are, responding to the zones and all that kind of stuff. I think that's why he's doing it. I also think that's why he keeps swapping out corners, which is driving me crazy. Get your outside guys, get your inside guy, and stop with this 5-guy rotation in there all the time for the DBs. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. How are these guys supposed to, like, what's the expression? A jack of all trades, the master of none, right? Like, let these guys play a game at their positions all game long, and then see how they are, and then make adjustments during the week in practice and things like that. Like, not in the game every series. You have no idea who's going to come out there from time to time. There was a point in time where I was literally asking, "Hey, did Mooney Ward get hurt? Where was he those last 2 drives? Like, what going into halftime? I don't even think he was on the field at the time. Like, what the hell happened to him? Where did he go?" And these are all questions that I have for Wilkes or whoever's making those substitution decisions. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. If Mooney is supposed to be the number 1 guy, there's no reason for him to not be out there when a team has 99.5 yards to drive. They're clearly going to be trying to pass the ball because they're up against the clock. Get your number 1 corner out there. Then you don't have Ambry Thomas out there trying to do it, because now all of a sudden it's Mooney, it's Lenore, and it's Oliver. Those are your 3 guys, right? That's what you guys told us. So then use those 3 guys. We wouldn't even be having this conversation about Thomas if that was the case. I don't understand it. I don't get it. And it's some weird, we can do it with everybody type of thing. I don't know. Are they trying to, like, keep offenses guessing the way that our offense keeps defenses guessing? I don't get it. I don't know. But it's just not, I don't think it's sustainable at this point. You have to commit to guys and let them learn while they're out there. And if they can't do it, let them be the reason they come out and say, "Hey, this guy is whooping me down in and down out. I either need help or you got to put somebody else out here." But they just keep going back and forth. So it's not that one guy is saying, "Hey, I can't do it," because if that was the case, you wouldn't put him back out there, right? So who's making the decisions? I don't know. I think that's a big credit. We have to credit the Cardinals appropriately, right? Like, the Cardinals had, I'm not going to say a good game plan, obviously, because they lost, but they had something. They saw something, they felt something, and they went out and executed when they had the opportunities.
Yeah. I will say I'm very impressed with Isaiah Oliver. I was questioning whether this man would even make the roster back in August. I don't know if it was a adjustment to being in a new scheme, or not necessarily a new scheme, a new team, new teammates, new assignments, but he's been great. He's been really good. Everything the 49ers in the regular season have asked of him, he's done. And I know he's kind of been in the nickel, but dare I say, play him over Ambry? I mean, I don't know. I think they kind of experimented with that a little bit on Sunday. It didn't go that badly. So we'll see. Chris M says it's play calling. Wilkes has never had the talent he has now. He doesn't know how to call a defense that has more talent than the offense. Could be that. Could just be an adjustment. Hopefully this is something that he adjusts to. I'm sorry. I saw this tweet.
With Brock Purdy in place, with Trent Williams, with Brandon Ayuk, with Deebo Samuel, with Christian McCaffrey, with George Kittle, are we even sure that that's the case, that the defense has more talent than the offense? I don't know.
No.
I mean, either way you slice it, both sides of the ball are really good. But this day, it was the offense carrying the day.
Yeah. And this is something I asked you guys prior to the season starting. I'm like, could we possibly see the offense start to maybe carry the defense? To be fair, I think I said the passing offense take over more than the running offense, but man, we're seeing it. We're seeing it right before our very eyes. I think we're seeing the 49ers transition into an offensive identity type of team, more so than a defense. At the very least, a very balanced team, which has never been the case since Kyle Shanahan's been here. It's always been defense, defense, defense. Hopefully we can keep them under 20 and Jimmy can get us 21, and that's not the case. This team's averaging over 30 points a game. First time in franchise history, first 4 games have gone by and they're scoring over 30 in each. I wonder what the difference could be, Mike. I really wonder what it could be. What changed from last year? All right. Anything else on the defense that stood out to you guys that you wanted to talk about? People want to trade for Max Crosby. I don't know if you've seen that, as if that would be even logical or doable in any sense of the way, but I keep seeing it in the chat.
I think people are getting nervous about the lack of sacks. And, I'm not mad at people feeling that way. this defensive line was supposed to be so highly touted, and you go out, we played the Giants, and we did what we did against the Giants, but then you go out and you watch the game last night, and what was he sacked like 7 times or something like that? The
8.
Niners didn't do that. 8 times. He got sacked 8 times?
I'm pretty sure it was 8.
Jesus,
Yeah.
even worse. But like the Niners weren't doing that. Like where was that at? Now again, I do know that teams are trying to get the ball out of their hands quicker and all that against the Niners, but like I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It does if teams are going to get the ball out of their hands faster, then that's even more of a reason to press the guys at the line of scrimmage. Because now you're throwing them off, so that 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds, it's all off rhythm then. That's even more of a reason to press. So it can't be both. We have to pick one and then commit to it. If that's what teams are going to do against us, then so be it. But we got to start doing something, because it's just it's not playing out right. And it was 21-3 with however much time they had left to drive, go ending the half, and they drove all the way down the field. That's not acceptable. It's not acceptable.
My bad. ESPN says 11 sacks.
Holy shit. That's
Did
even worse.
Did you see Eric Armstead's tweet? Like, Daniel
No.
Jones, I'm so disappointed in you. Why did you wait until this week to hold the ball? Like, you couldn't have done that last Thursday night and let us have a historic night. You wait until this. That's what I don't get. The Giants were in like max protection, keeping a running back in, getting the ball out 2.5 seconds Thursday night. And then for some reason, come Monday night, they were just like, it's all right. Let's let all these routes develop downfield and hope Daniel Jones can run for his life. I don't know. Didn't work out well. Brian Dable robbed Kyle Shanahan of Coach of the Year, and now he's getting some karma for that.
Yeah.
All right. Matt, were you going to say anything about the pressure, Max Crosby?
No, everybody wants to play Madden GM. That's whatever. The pressure will get there eventually, I think. It's when you watch the defensive linemen are beating their guys, they're just getting the ball out. The back end has to adjust to allow the front end to work. And if Steve Wilkes is what we think he can be, or what we hope he can be, then those adjustments will come. It'll just depend on what's going on. Somebody in the chat earlier was like, oh yeah, we got to play man against Dak Prescott, whatever. Nah, man, Dak sucks against zone. We got to keep playing zone against Dak Prescott. Have him throw another 2 interceptions or whatever. But the fact of the matter is that these offensive coordinators are trying to unlock the master key to beating the 49ers defense. It hasn't necessarily worked so far. Like I said, they're top 5 in yards given up, top 3 in points given up. It'll come eventually. I do think that, these defenders are going to get home eventually. And while the sack numbers won't necessarily be what they are last year, even the pressures will allow turnovers to be forced. This was the first game of the season without a 49ers turnover. That's not going to be every week, right? Like, I remember, what was it, 2019 or 2020 or 20, one of those seasons where the 49ers defense had like 2 interceptions all season. And it was a season where we won like 13 games.
Mm-hmm.
The pressure will get there, and you'll see that in the results, not necessarily with sacks, but with outcomes of plays in different ways. So everybody calm, we'll be all right. I think the biggest issue that we've had so far was with Matt Stafford, who was able to really kind of, but again, Matt Stafford is a borderline, if not fully fledged, future Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? Like, Matt Stafford's a good quarterback. He's not bad. Sean McVay plays this team twice a year. And guess what? They didn't even win, right? 23 is the high that the 49ers have given up on the season. So let's pump the brakes. Let's see what happens. I think this week is going to be a really good test in primetime against the Dallas Cowboys, and we'll go from there. We'll see.
Just real quick, I want to say, let's just talk about how efficient this team was on Sunday. We talked about Brock Purdy being 20 for 21, but as a whole, take out kneel downs, they had 6 possessions, 5 ended in touchdowns. They punted once. And the one punt Mitch had, he got it to the 1 yard line. Unfortunately, the defense let a 99-yard drive go. But I mean, it was just like everybody was on. Everybody was on. And I think we also maybe need to start accepting the fact that the Cardinals are a better team than all of us thought going into the year. Maybe they're not going to win more than 4 to 6 games, but there's talent there. Like you can clearly see the talent.
And they're playing hard, and I think that that's a very important thing. James Conner looks like a completely different runner in Arizona than he did in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Like in Pittsburgh, he looked like he's whatever, but he's like a 5 yards plus per carry guy in Arizona, and that's impressive. And if you can get the run game going and ease up on what the quarterback is doing, and Josh Dobbs made some really nice plays with his legs, I don't think that the Cardinals are as bad as I thought they were going to be. They're still 1-3, but it's a damn good 1-3.
Yeah.
You know,
they're playing for Jonathan Gannon.
It's not a Denver Broncos 1-3. Let me put it that way.
And like you said about Ayuk with the yards, right? It's a real 18 because his long was the 42, right? That's the same thing with Connor. Connor doesn't have any of those 60-yard runs like McCaffrey has or anything like that. I think his long was like 20 something on the season before this game. So it's a real like 5 yards a pop. Like he's out there and he's really doing his thing. So kudos to him as well. I gave him a lot of props heading into the game, and it held true.
Yeah, he just had to act like a little bitch after the game, trying to punch.
Yeah, what was up with that?
I don't know. They even asked Huff, and he just said, I think he was trying to talk to is it Ismail? Wasn't he a former 49er, the offensive lineman? Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know.
I thought that was the case. I thought he was like a former 49ers offensive lineman, Keith Ismail. I could be wrong. But he was catching up with him, and then apparently James Conner came up and had something to tell him. And look, there's nothing tough about trying to punch another man while you kept your own helmet on.
Right.
And I don't know if you guys saw it happen so quick. He shoved his finger down his mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would have been like Kevin Garnett looking for Carmelo Anthony, or Carmelo Anthony looking for Kevin Garnett after the game. I'd have been at the team bus. It's cool. Cameras are on right now. I'll see you in a little bit.
Yeah. That's when your jaw locks. Sorry. Bro. Now you're out of finger, bro.
KG wasn't the one, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't the one to mess with.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite all-time NBA players. I love Kevin Garnett. You remember those old ads with Stephon Marbury for ESPN the magazine or whatever? KG's like 20-10-5, 20-10-5. Love that man, dude. Like he's definitely not one to mess with.
You can't tell a man that his wife tastes like Cheerios and not expect it, like get the wrath. Like, sorry, you can't do that. Like you're gonna see me, and just like that, you can't stick your fingers in my mouth. I'm a grown man. You can't do that. We're gonna have a problem.
I saw a tweet. It was like, nah, he left his fingers in his mouth a little too long. That was a little kinky there, man. Like, what are you doing? It wasn't a quick poke. He shoved him all the way down there and kept him there. I don't know what Connor's trying to get into, but keep that shit off the field, man. Yeah, I had a blast at this game. It was a really good game. Overall, I was very impressed with the 49ers. Very efficient day. Yes, there's some things to clean up, but it's just trending in the right direction. You know, they keep getting better and better and better. Offense has been scoring 30 for the past 3 weeks. They scored 35, scored 5 touchdowns on 6 possessions. There's not much for me to complain about. Like, honestly. This game is turning people like Ted and Grant and Ryan Hensley into Brock Purdy truthers. Like, so there really isn't much for people to complain about. And if there is, they might be lying to you. That's what I'm going to say. So any final thoughts, guys?
That Mankind comment was perfect. I don't even watch a lot of wrestling, but I remember that guy used to. That's hilarious. That's Matt, funny. You kind of got this Mankind vibe going now that I think about it.
That's right. Let's go. Have a nice day.
Get a sock puppet, man. That's all we need.
Hey, you know what? I don't need to be giving anybody the mandible claw. Nothing like that. I agree with you, Mike. Keep your damn fingers out of somebody else's mouth unless y'all are in the privacy of your own bedroom doing whatever you want to do. But yeah, out on the field, that whole thing was weird. And I don't know. It is what it is. I do think it's also weird that people are like, man, what a cool guy George Kittle is, like pulling his teammate back. And I'm like, that's like all teammates would
like the least you could do.
Right. Like, hey, we don't need this. We won. Let's go. Like, it's done. Like, you don't need to get involved in this. Somebody's just mad. So very interesting. Also, shout outs to Jake Moody. More field goals. Although I will say, bro, stop kicking kickoffs out of bounds. That's the second time this season.
So frustrating. So frustrating. All right, guys, we're going to be doing I'm heading to Tahoe tomorrow, but I'll be back Saturday. So I assume we're going to be aiming for a preview show Saturday.
That's going to be the one.
All right, sweet. 49ers Cowboys preview show Saturday. We'll put out the official details on social media once we get closer, have a better idea. The game's here, guys. This game we've been looking for. Do you know they've only met on Sunday Night Football like 3 times ever, these two teams? It's crazy. You would think the NFL wants to schedule this on Sunday night more often. And I forget who tweeted it out. Could have been the ESPN reporter. I'm totally blanking on his name right now. Nick Wagner. The 49ers all-time record versus the Cowboys, 19-19-1. Isn't that crazy? So,
you know who else had a record like that before last week? The Giants. The Giants had a I swear to you guys, it was like dead even with that tie in there as well. It was dead even with a tie. It was crazy.
Versus the Niners?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Wow.
Yeah. I'm gonna pull it up now just to double check, but I'm pretty sure that was it. I think Wayne and I looked it up. Here we go. 49. Yeah. So right now it's 22-21 because we just won on Thursday.
Shit.
So I'm sorry, there was no tie. It was 21-21.
Spreading misinformation over here, Mike.
My bad, man. I lied about the tie. My bad.
All right. I think that's going to do it for this show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. All of our handles are
Chat pack, bro.
Oh. Fuck, I always forget. All right.
Also, pay the bills. Run the ad.
Oh, okay. While I pull a chat pack, we are going to pay the bills. Thank you, Matt. You are saving me. Just want to take a second to thank today's sponsor, MyBookie. As a bettor, you demand perfection, and MyBookie delivers. NFL, college football, and a brand new cash out system gives you options to bet and win all season long. The first 2 legs of your parlay hit, cash out early and use the funds on another bet. Or you could let it ride for the chance of a bigger payday. Join the MyBookie family for a season filled with odds boosts, free bets, and super contests. To get started, all you got to do is super simple. Go to mybookie.ag right now and register for an account for free. That's right, it's free. And whenever it is you're ready to make your first deposit, just use promo code HIVE. It's right here on the screen, HIVE, to grab a welcome bonus on the house. That's our gift to you for being a part of the 49ers Hive family. That's promo code HIVE, HIVE, to claim your deposit bonus. And for a limited time, you also get a free chip to use in the MyBookie casino. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Now let's get back to the show. All right. Shout out MyBookie. All right. We got a chat pack ready for you guys. A good one.
Shout out to your damn ad read, bro. That's smooth. That's like a good ad read, man.
Thank you. It only took me about six tries. And I was just kidding. All right. Tonight's chat pack card, and you guys please answer in the chat as well. What is your all-time favorite scene from a movie? What is your all-time favorite scene from a movie?
You know what? I saw this the other day, and I'm really into it all the time. It's from that movie A Few Good Men, where Tom Cruise's character interviews Jack Nicholson's character on the stand. He's like, you want answers? He's like, I think I'm entitled to answers. He's like, you want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Beautiful scene. Beautifully acted. It was great. Did you order the code red? You goddamn right I did. Oh, amazing. As a military vet, fun stuff. Love that scene. And then I would say my all-time favorite movie scene is not one that people talk about a lot. My favorite all-time movie is The Shawshank Redemption. And it's the scene where Red gets out of prison and he decides he's going to go to, that oak tree right? Pulls up the volcanic rock, finds all the stuff. It's particularly when he finds the envelope and looks inside and sees all the money, and then the bird makes that like chirping sound that really like sets him off, and he's like looking over his shoulder. But really, it's when he gets down to Say Wataneo, the place they talked about, and they're about to roll the credits. The camera's pulling back, and you see Andy and Red walk up to each other and hug each other, and that's how the movie ends. A rare Stephen King story where there's a happy ending. A lot of people don't know that The Shawshank Redemption is a Stephen King short story. Amazing, and absolutely love it.
Damn. All right. Mine, it's my favorite. It's just so chilling. It's my favorite movie, but No Country for Old Men, right? And I don't know if you never seen it. Okay, so
I've never seen it.
Oh, you guys have to watch this movie. So Javier Bardem, I believe, is the.
I think I've seen this. Are you about to talk about the one in the convenience store?
Yes. So he's in the convenience store. He goes up, and his whole thing is he has a coin that's double-sided, but it's got the same thing on. So he has this like air compressor tank with like a some type of like, he makes a weapon out of it. So he's like blowing people's brains out with this air compressor, and he flips the coin and he has people call it. And he goes up to the attendant and goes, call it. And he goes, I can't call it. What are we betting? Call it. Well, I need to know the terms of our bet. Oh, what's the most you've ever lost in a bet? He's got this really, really scary like Spanish accent. And I won't spoil it, but God damn, it's very, very intimidating. And, what's the most you've ever lost on a coin toss? It's a fantastic scene. So go watch the movie if you guys haven't seen it already. It's my favorite movie. I didn't realize that I kicked you guys off the screen, but all right. Mike, what's your favorite all time?
All right. This was a tough one for me. I have a lot of scenes from some of my top 5 movies, but I'm gonna go with the opening scene from the very first Bad Boys. All right. Martin Lawrence and Fresh Prince, Will Smith are in his Porsche, and it's like they're speeding. Martin has this big like sloppy burger and French fries and everything, and Will Smith is like, "Hey man, what's with all this having a picnic shit in my car?" He's like, "Hey man, look, I'm not getting that at home, okay? Let me have this. Let me have this, okay?" He was like, "Yeah, just don't make a mess." He's like, "All right, fine. Where's your cup holders?" So I don't have none. So, what the fuck do you mean you don't have none? $80,000 for this car and you didn't got no damn cup holders? He's like, "It's $105,000. It has to be one of the fastest production models on the planet. 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, baby. It's a limited edition." Martin's like, "You're damn right it's limited. No cup holders and no back seat. It's a shiny dick with 2 chairs." But it's the whole opening scene, and they get into like the little fight scene and everything. Martin's got jokes and everything. Like they're held at gunpoint and they're still arguing with each other in the car. Martin looks out the window. He's like, "Damn, what are you weighing? Like 350? I bet you a big Popeyes chicken eating motherfucker, ain't you?" It is just like it set the stage for the whole movie, and it went back and forth like that the entire time. The best Bad Boys, hands down. The comedy in that whole movie is great. But that was absolutely my favorite movie scene, man. It was great. It was action, it was comedy. Little scandalous lady walks across the street with the boobs out and everything, and it was everything you could want in one quick scene, man. It was a great opening scene to a franchise.
Great movies. Very, very underrated movies. All right, guys. Thank you, Matt, for reminding me. I always forget. Now that we have that done, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Our handles are on the screen. Mike, anything you want to plug? Patreon?
Patreon.com/NB9ERS. Recorded a video. It should be out 8 a.m. tomorrow morning Eastern time, 5 a.m. for you guys over on the West Coast, and then sometime in between for you people Mountain Time.
In between. Not going to do the math. It's just sometime.
Right? Isn't it Mountain Time? Because they don't have daylight saving, so I don't know if they're 2 hours behind or 1 hour behind. I don't know how it works. I had a cousin that lived in Arizona, and I'm like, "Oh, don't forget the clock back." And she was like, "We don't do that." And I'm like, "All right, well, whatever." Weirdo.
When I was a kid, I used to think that was I thought that was a natural process. Like I thought we just lost an hour, and gained an hour like twice a year. Like, I don't know. I just thought that was like a normal thing. And then
they
I
got
got
doing
older.
away with that.
Yeah.
Did they officially stop it?
I don't know what the results were, but something like that. I feel like they voted to not do it anymore. Do you ever think
Oh.
like, who the fuck gave you this power? Like, I get your voted representatives, but imagine being so fucking like big headed that you're like, let's change time. Let's change time. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Just like they want to change the weather.
There's a lot of thoughts that I have about stuff like that. Like, who decided to do this? Like the first time someone decided to eat an egg, right?
Milk
Like
a
that
cow.
process. Right. Milk a cow.
Some sick fuck.
I saw this comedian say something. I don't know if I should. I'm going to say it. I don't care. I saw this comedian, like the stand-up comedian. He was like, "You ever think about like the first person who like they held a board meeting to start the Special Olympics? Like, just think about what that process was like. Was like, well, these kids like can't run like those kids, so let's make them race against each other." Like,
Shane Gillis.
yes.
Yeah, he's hilarious, man.
Oh my God.
I have an idea.
Let's make them race. It's like, what? I laughed so hard. It was one of those things where I couldn't breathe. So you get up like holding your ribs, like you're trying to catch your air. I'm sorry, guys.
It's on Netflix. It's on Netflix. You gotta check it out.
What's that movie with Johnny Knoxville about the Special Olympics? The Ringer?
Oh yeah.
Never seen it. Yeah, I don't even know.
Oh, that one's hilarious. Like mid 2000s. He pretends to
definitely
be.
Could not make that movie today.
No.
But yeah, everybody who's the first to do something, right? Like,
right.
Think about the most complicated thing that you could do in the culinary world, which is properly slice a puffer fish. Like, who trial and errored that shit? Right? Like,
what happens if you don't properly do it?
Then you get a neurotoxin and you die.
Oh shit.
It's very specific the way that you have to prepare that type of fish, and you'll die if you don't do it right. And so the first person that like trialed that, like, yeah, we can do this part safe, but not this. And it's like, boy, I hope you got a lot of apprentices just in case you mess up.
So we lost Mark. He's no longer with us. We also learned how not to cut this fish.
Mark ate that one part of the puffer fish, dude. Didn't work.
Jesus.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
I'll never try it.
No, I'm good. Yeah. Just the knowledge of knowing that, like, I'm putting my life in the chef's hands, because if he messes this up, then I'm dead. I'm good, man. I don't need to try it that bad. I don't even like fish that much, so I'm good.
I got to say before we wrap up, my dad's texting me. He's watching the show. His favorite scenes from Old Yeller, getting the fish out, when the kid says he went way under the water to cave to catch his fish. I've never seen the movie, but I know it's like a very sad movie, so I don't know. I told him I'd watch it, but it's gonna break.
By the way, if you want a good comedy scene, man, Step Brothers, like that whole movie is just fantastic. But
of course,
it's just Are you saying Pan or Pam? Pam. And Seth Rogen's appearance in that was pretty funny too. Is that onions? Yep. That movie is fantastic. I love that movie, man. Great movie.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for sticking with us. If you're watching this afterwards, drop a comment. It helps with the algorithm more than you know. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow us all on Twitter. Our handles are on the screen. We'll be live Saturday. Check our I keep saying Twitter. Check our X accounts for more specific details on when we'll be live. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Matt, you want to carry us out?
Absolutely. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Beautiful win by the 49ers, 35-16 over the Arizona Cardinals. That is 2 divisional games, 2 divisional wins. Let's keep it going forward. Before we get to more division games, we got one against probably the 49ers' biggest historical rival in the Dallas Cowboys. Sunday night football for everybody to see. Let's show up and show out against Dallas. Looking forward to it. So for Mike and Zach and myself, thank you again for joining us here tonight. We couldn't do this without you, and we love bringing you content each and every week. Take it to Dallas on Sunday. Until then, go Niners.